Hey, we're back here with Brett Dicus, front of house engineer for Norah Jones at Bonnaroo 2010, and little web extra for the audio dudes out there, the front of house guys. So, if we could talk a little bit about how automation works into your workflow and how you're able to use plugins out here on the road.
Well, first off, with Norah's new band here, she's and all of the band are on different instruments and different mics for every song. So being able to prepare snapshots for each scenario obviously is a huge plus that we've always enjoyed with any console automation. However, out here, my bus architecture for things like drums and vocals can be a little bit more elaborate in that I don't have to duplicate scenarios. I can use buses for what I need, and so the snapshots for me allow me to work on my file offline, and also allow me to, on like a day like today, I can play back tracks, get all of my levels set, and be completely prepared with my variables that I might be thrown that day. We do carry a full Pro Tools HD2 rig on the road with us, which is in Europe right now. So instead, I'm carrying my laptop, which I can just firewire FWX right into the desk, and that with its shortcomings or differences from the HDX world, I'm able to completely tune the rig and work with my files and keep my workflow consistent between HDX, FWX, or any other world. So like today, it's great. I just walk in with my laptop and away we go, and I'm playing back a full-on 4824 audio file that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to tune to. I'm not tuning to a CD, or I can actually work with good source material to tune the rig and get my world prepared, even on a fly day.
Check the Phantom.
That's cool. So that's we're talking about the virtual sound check and being able to, from the old school days or from bands who haven't been lucky enough to have a killer world-class FOH engineer or a venue live sound console, the idea of, basically in a nutshell, if you're not familiar with it, you take a Pro Tools recording, a session, and you run it through and you sound check it as if the band was there, which, I mean, if you're a band, you're pretty stoked about that, especially in a venue environment or a festival environment like this.
Yeah, well, the virtual sound check has really changed our whole world, because now our dialogue with the band members can be backed up with actual, what I call job security. If someone says, hey, what are you doing to my guitar? Or, hey, what are you doing to my bass? I can bring them out and they can hear exactly what it sounds like in the PA, and we can work on various dynamics or EQ changes that they might feel better suit their tone. And so now...
Do they do that? Do you do that with the band members?
Absolutely, yeah. Even with Norah, she likes to come out and hear what's going on, because, this particular record of Norah's explores, some new tones and some new sounds for her. And so even in the rehearsal process, she doesn't even know really what it sounds like in the live world, because what they did in the studio can't really be identically reproduced in the live world. So now we can say, oh, what does that sound like? And I can play it back. Or in this particular case with new band members, I was able to let them listen to various performances or tones that we had on previous tours with the older material. And so right now she can just say, hey, play me the bass from this song in 2007. I have it in my session ready to go. I play it back for them, and now I don't have to burn a CD for them to listen to at home that night or anything like that. They can just listen to it right then and there. So the process is a little bit more collaborative and direct and immediate as far as going back and forth with any recorded material.
It's really cool to be able to get the artist involved in that, because up until this kind of development, musicians typically know one thing, and that's the monitor mix. Yeah. They don't have any idea what they ever sound like really live from the front of house position, which is what the audience is getting. So I think that's a really, really exciting kind of development, and I love the idea of the musicians coming out here and checking out their tones and making sure they're happy with it too, and for you to be able to provide not just a reference, but an accurate reference and a historical reference of how it's been done in the past, how it happened last night. Yeah. I think that's really cool. So when you're using tracks to do your virtual sound check, how far back do you typically go? Do you use something from the last show? Do you use something from a show where you guys had like just a killer night that you want to recreate? How does that work?
Well, in general, my approach is to use a similar venue. Like if it's an outdoor show, I try and use an outdoor show. If it's a theater, an arena, vice versa. But usually it's just the previous day's show. It all depends on the system I'm out with, because if I don't have all of the shows readily available to me, like if I've already transferred to our backup scenario and it's no longer immediately available on the machine, then I will use something from the last couple of days. So usually it's the previous night's show, unless it was just a really weird venue or something like that. But at the beginning of the tour, I did use, earlier shows, whether it be last tour or last week for a promo show. It just depends on what I have access to.
That's really cool, especially how you said for getting, if you have a new band, giving them a really accurate representation of, like, we did a great night in Stockholm 3 years ago.
Exactly.
This is kind of how we wanted to sound. What do you think? And then they get have a little creative input too, because every guitarist is a little bit different. He's like, I might want a little bit more chime. How does that sound? You're like,
And even after our breaks from the tour, I can give them stems of stuff. I can give them, just their guitars or just their background vocals, and so that's really helped, the comfort level of a lot of the band members. And this goes for all the artists I've worked with. It's been nice to have access to isolated tracks, and before that involved. A whole different process of gaining access to those tracks, even sometimes legal access to those tracks. But having them immediately available to us has sped up our workflow quite a bit.
so has that made you? Have you taken on the role of the archivist in that sense?
Well, yes, I do have a lot of compassion for my recording brethren in the trucks, and that's not to say that, a lot of times when we are doing full-on DVD shoots, I like the liability and just the attention to detail to be with somebody else. So at no point in the big picture do I, if we're doing a major festival like this, I'm very grateful to have the recording truck today, so I'm not complaining that I'm not recording it today. However, in a day-to-day when we're at a, low-profile show somewhere and I want to have a multi-track available, it's nice to have that toolkit available to me. So the answer to that is yes. In general, I have taken on the role of archivalist, and that, once again, has created a lot of job opportunities as well as a lot more time in the day from this normal job position. But I'm fortunate enough to where I've played that role, I've played this role, so I know how to handle both roles. But it's a lot to take on for any one guy who's not familiar with Pro Tools or a multi-tracking scenario.
But it's interesting. It said that it opens up some opportunities, because I've kind of found in the audio world, live sound world, music world, there are so many little different skills that you can pick up. If you can master them, fantastic. But if you just get a grasp of them, I found that people who do that have more options for gigs out in this business if you know how to do stuff like archive properly and can deliver material like that, content to an artist that another sound guy might not.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of good mentors over the years. However, I definitely gained a lot of my opportunity by having IT and programming and operating system knowledge and things like that come with someone from my generation, more or less. But that's not to say, at this point, I value everyone's experience. But hey, if I can solve, some kind of VNC problem or some kind of digital transport problem, then I'm here for you and I'm available. So,
Well, you heard that, folks. He's free here and available, upcoming, available for parties, bar mitzvahs. Probably not. It would be expensive. It'd be excellent sounding bar mitzvah, though. I think that's it for now. We don't want to take up too much of your time, and it's about 1,000,000 degrees. I'm going to melt out here. Thanks a million for taking the time, and we'll be back for you with more from Bonnaroo 2010.